This is my entry for the color-locked StarSnap. For those of you who might not know, StarSnaps are a DreamSnap-like competition run by Mr. Star in Sky on his website Starlight Dreamers. If you haven't checked him or his site out, I highly recommend you do. This week's challenge was to use one color, or as close to that as you could. I went back and forth on what color I wanted to do for a while, and the only thing I knew I wanted to do was to use the memory orbs, which didn't really help me pick my color. In the end, I ended up settling on blue. I liked the idea of using water in combination with high-tech neon items, and was kind of going for a futuristic alien vibe, building out a chunk of water since I liked the idea of having that in the back of my shot. Cutting out the center because I liked the idea of having an alcove where I could put more decorations, lining the front with the arcade carpets, or a walkway to put my character on. I thought it would be cool to have some water effects as the rail to the walkway. I thought that the ancient landing pedestal could be a fun centerpiece for the alcove, realizing the flooring was off-center, so centering it and aligning the walkway. Grabbing some water sprayers for more water effects, I liked them behind the ancient fountains and thought they looked cool lining the alcove. I thought the bonfire pit looked really cool, and considered swapping out the pedestal for it, but it felt a little big there, and I was worried it was too gold, so I debated it while trying to work on the water. Decided to make the alcove less straight to give it a little more room. Extending out the flooring, trying to figure out how I wanted it to look, and felt very indecisive about it. Decided more water couldn't hurt, and tried to surround the walkway with the water, trying to figure out what sizes I needed, and couldn't figure out why things didn't seem to be even. Things did not want to line up. Checking to see if that's good enough, or if I have to fight with it more. I didn't like the gap near the alcove, but otherwise it seemed fine. Filling out the gap with some glowy spirals. I wanted to add more to the background, and liked the idea of using some glowing spirals and mushrooms. I also thought the frozen willow trees looked cool, so I debated which ones fit the vibe better, and decided I liked both of them. I put the willows in the back to help block out the green trees on the edge of the island, then added mushrooms in the front, rotating them to add some variation, and added some more spirals. Checking how it's looking. Adding more water to the other side of the walkway. I thought the blue fire was cool, but wasn't sure where I wanted it, so I was testing it out there. Checking how it's looking again. The fire is bothering me there, so I moved it over and added another to help balance it out. Adding some smaller glowy spirals to help fill in, and some blue bushes, as I was trying to block out as much of the green grass as I could. Checking how it's looking. Finally giving in and admitting the bonfire pit is too gold, so I got rid of it. Back to adding more blue bushes, and got distracted trying to figure out what should go in the alcove. Tried a couple of different things, but settled on the hover couch, as I liked the futuristic vibe it gave. Decided on two, and put the fire between them. Trying the pedestal back there again, and got rid of the ancient fountains, as they are currently glitched and weren't animating the water correctly, and I like the idea of adding blue memory orbs there instead. Now, to get memory orbs in your inventory so you can drop them, you need to cook or garden on a floating island, or cook in a room of any of your houses. Once you get the memory orbs to spawn, go into furniture mode and reset the island or room, and the memory orbs will be put in your inventory. Once they are in your inventory, you want to stand about where you want to put them. I wasn't confident in them landing exactly where I wanted, so I filled in practically everywhere else they could go. I went a bit overboard with it, but I really didn't want them going somewhere I didn't want them, as then I'd have to reset the island to get the orbs back, and start over. I wasn't exactly sure how much room they needed, but I tried to give them about 2 squares, hoping that would be enough, as I really wanted them to be in a straight line. Getting in position to drop them, I was pretty sure they would drop to the right of my character. I had hoped they would drop at her feet, but they decided no. Carefully stepping onto the memory orb and dropping the next one. Then repeated, trying to keep them evenly spaced apart. I wasn't exactly sure where to stand to continue the line, but tried to guesstimate the right distance. In retrospect, I should have blocked off the area behind my character, so it would stay even, but at least I was able to use that one as a guide for the next one, and continue the line from there. Double checking how far I went with them, and figured it's close enough for now. I also wanted them going down the alcove as well. I didn't like that those were uneven. Filling in more water to block them from getting in the center. Moving the pedestal out of the way. Shifting the water to fit another line. continuing the orbs, shifting to the other side and figured that since everything nearby was blocked off, it should jump to the left of my character instead, and I could continue the line from there. In retrospect, I probably should have just opened up that orb and placed a new one to try to even the lines, but I didn't, and the whole line ended up uneven with the other side. But thankfully it wasn't really noticeable from the angle I wanted for my shot. Cleaning up the blockers, putting back the pedestal, which has decided to go invisible since I had to reload the island to get my memory orbs from a different floating island. I could have picked it up and tried to fix it, but I kinda liked that it looked like a bigger memory orb. Checking how the orbs are looking in camera mode, and I'm pretty happy with it, and that the unevenness isn't really showing. Adding some blue lights to help drown out the green in the back, and add more blue. I find that the craftable lampposts and wrought iron street lamps are the best for flooding an area with light, especially if you put two or more next to each other. I decided to add another alcove on the other side, to help the foreground have more shape and not be a straight line. I knew most of it wasn't going to show in my shot, but I wanted to mirror the other side. Moving the pedestal orb to the center of the walkway, trying to decide how much of the second alcove I want to show, testing in camera mode. I was pretty happy with the backdrop, but the foreground was feeling empty, and I'm feeling like I want the camera closer to my character. I really like the idea of using a glitch recently discovered by Aurora, who has a very helpful post about it on Dreamer's portal. To do this glitch, you want to use your snippet catcher to spin, then immediately go into furniture mode. Then, when you exit, you should have this nice glowing wave of energy come off your character, which you can activate by hiding and unhiding your character in camera mode. I was also considering glitching my character into the pedestal orb for an extra glowy effect. To do that, I moved the pedestal on top of my character, then picked it up and hit escape twice. If you are in console, I believe you have to put the item on top of your character and then immediately exit furniture mode. It should do the same thing, but is trickier to do. I wasn't sure how I felt about my character being in the orb, but I loved the magic wave effect. I just need to figure out how big I wanted it, and what to do with the rest of my foreground, and what camera mode I wanted to use, debating how much foreground I wanted to use, or if I wanted to use a lower second camera mode angle, which you can get by crouching and uncrouching in selfie mode, then immediately switching into the second camera mode. Playing with poses, as you can tell I was feeling very unsure about this one. I loved that magic mist wave effect it created. Decided it was time to start filling in the foreground a bit more. I wanted to try out those moss things, since I loved that they glowed, but they just didn't fit where I wanted, so I decided to add more memory orbs to the foreground, which meant I needed to block off spots I didn't want them to go. I tried to keep them even. I'm not sure they're perfectly aligned, but I think they got pretty close. Picked up my blockers, tried adding some bubbles to put some ancient cores in, filling in the backdrop a little more, checking how it's looking, debated adding those crystals, but they just didn't feel right, adding more ancient cores to help fill out the foreground, checking how it's looking in camera mode, still feeling unsure about the pose, and the foreground still feels empty. Playing with camera placement. That felt a little better, but something was still off. Decided I wanted to add more memory orbs, so adding back the blockers to contain them. Added 2, picking up the blockers again, and adding more trees to the background to extend the backdrop now that my character is further up. More could show. Checking in camera mode. That's feeling a little better, but something is still feeling off. Decided I wanted to try a close-up shot instead. So I grabbed the Vizier's alchemy table to push the camera forward while in second camera mode. Other items can do the same thing. I just like this one because the shadow is short and typically doesn't get in the way. That's feeling better, but I'm not sure about the pose and my character is feeling a little dark. So I grab a table and put a chandelier on it. It's a weird glitch, but a very helpful one. Testing that out. That felt a little better. Back to debating poses. I kind of liked my character reaching towards the screen with a watering can animation, but the petals didn't match, so I needed to change watering cans, and decided I wanted to try to add more light, and since the foreground water wasn't really in the shot, I replaced it with table chandeliers. Checking the shot again. Looking better, but I didn't really like the edge of the watering can showing at the top of the screen. So I adjusted my camera angle and tried again. And I'm pretty happy with how it came out, though I didn't notice the top of those green trees sticking out in the back until it was too late to fix it. Hopefully they weren't too noticeable. If you're curious, this snap took me about 2 hours to do, though I already had the memory orbs, otherwise that would have taken a lot longer. I'll leave a link to the site in the description in case you want to check it out, or join me for the next challenge. Thank you for watching. Please like the video if you found it at all helpful, and subscribe if you want to see more like this.